Boom. We're live.
Oops,
Hey,
have the phone out.
Rex.
Hello.
That's fine. I like that though. It's good. You gotta let your friends know that what's happening.
Of course, of
Um,
course.
Thank you so much, Rex. I'm excited. This is officially our 30th episode of Filipino Hustle Live. This is
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. And we are lucky enough to be able to feature Filipino entrepreneurs like yourself. And before we dive in to talk about your story, I want to make sure I give everyone a little bit of an intro. And of course, we're going to touch on different aspects of your story. So for those of you who aren't familiar, obviously this is Filipino Hustle Fridays and it's powered by JH Creative. And Rex De Guzman is a British-born Filipino chef. You'll hear soon enough his nice accent. An entrepreneur from Southeast London, known for promoting Filipino cuisine in the UK. In 2014, at age 21, he launched his first Filipino-themed pop-up. And in 2018, left his position as a chef de, I don't even know how to pronounce this, de partie.
Chef de partie. It's fine.
De partie. At Gordon Ramsay's Maze in Mayfair, now Lucky Cat, to launch Turo Turo, a street food brand named after the Tagalog term meaning to point at. This is awesome. Thank you so much for hopping on my humble show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, congrats on the 30th episode.
Thank you. Thank you. So obviously you've been featured on television, on different shows and everything. But before we get into that, I wanted to know more about your background. You said you were born and raised in the UK.
Yes, yeah, correct. Yeah, born and raised here. Both my parents are originally from the Philippines. So my mom's from Cagayan Valley in the northern part of Luzon, and my dad is from San Miguel, Bulacan. And they must have moved over to the UK. I don't know the exact year, but over 40 years ago. So yeah, I'm born and bred here in the UK, hence the strong British accent. Yeah.
I know you're the first person for me to meet that's Filipino British. Is that what they say? Filipino British?
British born Filipino, I guess. Or actually, we get Phil Brit sometimes now, like Phil Ams. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay,
yeah,
that's
Phil
new.
Brit.
That's new for me. That's awesome. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things about the show is getting to meet Filipinos across the globe, and I didn't anticipate that I would. And so there's been Filipino Canadians, Filipino Brit, or Phil Brit.
Phil Brit. Yeah, let's go Phil Brit. Yeah.
So did you know at a young age that you wanted to be a chef?
I would say it probably wasn't really until I actually made the decision to go into catering college. So when I was maybe 15, I had to decide after graduating from secondary school or high school, if you call it, what I wanted to do next in college. And I was actually choosing between music and food at the time. So I just made the decision to go for food, to be honest, because I felt like it was a more easier way to get into as a career. Music is quite difficult in the sense that you have to be extremely talented to go into music. So I felt food was the easier option. But that's where my passion developed really for cooking and to become a chef. It developed during my college years. Yeah.
Wait. So does that mean you know how to sing? No. Why should I be surprised?
Nope. No, actually, I'm brutally honest. Singing is the one talent, the number one talent that I wanted, but definitely not. I used to play guitar as a kid, from 12 till 17. I was playing guitar.
Guitar.
But singing is what I wish I could do. Trust me. Yeah.
I think I've seen that meme where somebody said, I think it's an FCS syndrome, Filipino can't sing syndrome.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, let me make sure that everybody sees to pull up some of the beautiful food that you made more recently. I mean, I know you mentioned the photos. This is from a while back though, but really cool, really awesome. So like you said, it wasn't necessarily something that you were planning on at a young age yet. But when did you know, like, was it part of your plan? Like, I am going to be on TV shows. I am going to be award winning. Like, when did it hit you? How ambitious you got to get to that level?
Yeah, that's a interesting question. I think initially it's not like I foresaw myself as like being on TV or anything like that. But if anything, what sparked off, like, shall we say, my mission in Filipino food and popularizing Filipino food here in the UK really stemmed kind of, part of it was because of my early experiences in one of my first jobs as a young commie chef. And it really started when I was working in this three rosette restaurant, and it was like crazy hours, low pay, like pretty full on, high pressure. And as a young chef at the time, so I was what, 17, 18, no, sorry, 18, 19. That I really struggled actually. Like I was getting to the point where I was able to hold it together and stuff, but I just felt like I could see very early on, like I can't see myself working like this for a very long time. And I just felt like I could put this same amount of effort into and hard work into, trying to build my own thing one day. So, that kind of fed into the ambition of wanting my own restaurant. So I'd always dreamt since I was 17, 18, whilst I was studying, that I wanted my own restaurant. But it really became a question of like, okay, cool, you want your own restaurant, you want to be your own boss, you want to have your own business. But like, where do you start? And it really became a question of like, well, who am I? What's my identity? So that all of that kind of self-reflection ended up leading to more of a curiosity for Filipino food, because I had studied catering. I was used to studying the French classics, European food, modern British cuisine, all of that stuff. And I knew that following my roots and my heritage and trying to put that out there was going to be more different, something different that I wanted to bring in. And when I kind of made that decision to start learning more about Filipino food, I realized that there's not many people doing it, especially at the time. I didn't know of many restaurants or chefs in the UK who were really doing like any kind of modern Filipino food. And so that was kind of like the beginnings from like 2014 of me going into Filipino cuisine, and that's where it all sort of started off.
That's awesome. And I know the brand recognition started gaining momentum at the 2019 British Street Food Awards, the brand for Turo Turo, right?
Yes, yeah.
And winning Southern Champion. It's funny when I hear, I'm from the Southeast in the US, so Southern Champion is that's for the UK, right? So
yeah, basically Portsmouth, which is a place in south of the UK. But yeah.
Oh, cool. And best vegetarian dish in the UK.
Yes, yeah. So we, I guess to fill in a bit of a gap from going from, so I started Turo Turo, my brand, my business, in 2018 as a street food stall. And that was just like me doing it myself, like saved up a few £1,000s to buy a gazebo and find little markets. And then we entered this competition called the British Street Food Awards in 2019. And we managed to get to the grand finals. And that was where I did a vegetarian dish. So it's ensaladang talong, which is a charred aubergine and tomato salad, which is super, super simple. But that ended up winning best vegetarian dish for that year. And that's been on our menu ever since. So it's in the restaurant as of today. And it's a dish that we're really, really proud of. Yeah.
That's awesome. Speaking of menu, I actually happen to
have
it pulled up. And it's and I know this is all remote for you folks who are in the Philippines or in America. I'm sorry, you can't. You'll have to travel to the UK to make sure that you guys get to try it. So yeah, here's the menu. Looks nice and simple. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about, because right after that, the brand recognition started getting momentum and everything. You also were featured. It was a competition, the Great Cookbook Challenge with Jamie Oliver in 2022. Was that also tied to Turo Turo, or is this something?
Actually, it was something more independent, and an opportunity that came up. So the business I was trading as a street food trader at the time, and bearing in mind if it was 2022, so we were just coming out of COVID from 2021, so
Yes.
we took a bit of a pause and a gap when COVID hit, and then relaunched in 21, doing pop-ups and street food. But the opportunities for this show came up. It was quite random, to be honest. Like, you just kind of came up in the inbox, and I was like, I never really thought about doing a cookbook before. Like, I'm not a food writer. I haven't really written like complex recipes or anything like that. But I thought, like, let me just give it a try. Like, it wouldn't hurt to just go for it. So, fortunately enough, I was able to feature and ended up managing to go all the way to the grand finals, which was pretty amazing. And then, unfortunately, never won. But the exposure of each episode, I was able to like show off amazing Filipino dishes and share the concept of Filipino food as a cookbook. And I'm excited to say that like I've actually got a publishing deal, so I have a cookbook coming out. Should be coming out next year, God willing. So yeah, we're on track for that to come out next year. So that's really exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's always something, you'll get something out of motion, and the fact that you took the challenge and this opportunity probably opened up because of it. Did you get to meet Jamie Oliver?
Yeah. So he was, he was like, he wasn't a judge on the show. He was more like kind of a host / mentor, which was pretty awesome because he was, kind of helping us out, giving us guidelines and kind of mentoring us along the way so that we could be the best versions of ourselves and our cookbook ideas. So yeah, it was really cool to meet him, and like super intimidating at first because obviously Jamie Oliver is such a huge worldwide name and what he's done in cuisine. But actually he's really cool. He's really down to earth, and yeah, like he really liked the Filipino cookbook idea as it was, and he just felt like he actually said like that the timing was really good, which was really interesting to hear from him, which meant that he recognized that Filipino food and culture is really coming up. It's having its time. It's getting so much exposure now, and you can see that across the world, especially in the US market, and all of the restaurants and chefs that are doing amazing things. So yeah, like the opportunity and the exposure from that as a show was huge, and yeah, it really helped propel me to where I am now.
Yeah, I remember you shared the link to me, so I was able to share it to the public comments, except LinkedIn. We'll have to add that later. But okay, yeah, sure. For those who want to catch that, thanks for sharing that. And yeah, I'm seeing ube all over the place. It's trending all over California.
Well, yeah. The ube thing is like, there's lots of different conversations. But my personally, my take on that is just, it's a good thing that it has that kind of almost like this mainstream buzz, and like big brands are starting to introduce ube and stuff. And I know there's like some controversies and all these things, but I think it's good in general because it stirs up more conversation. So I just feel like for Filipinos, the way that we should frame it is, look, let's just take ownership of it and say like ube is a Filipino thing. That's what we do. That's what we export. And we should be proud of that. So the more that you're seeing it in big brands, I personally think that that's just a good sign that it's one more thing that adds to the exposure of the Philippines as a country and our cuisine and culture. So I think it's a good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, the more we're out, it's almost like Korean food. It was like for a while under the radar, everybody loved it, and then now it's just like everywhere.
It's so good that you say that, because I actually so the reason why I'm like so excited that you said that is because it's part of my pitch now. Is that part of the business pitch for Turo Turo as a restaurant is just kind of seeing where we think Filipino food is now within the market in the world, and I really believe we're at this kind of this tipping point where Filipino food is about to go into the mainstream. And so I often compare the progress to the way Korean food came up. And one of the reasons why I believe Korean food, became such a wave was because we also saw the rise of like other industries, Korean
K-pop.
K-pop music and like Squid Games and media,
Right.
and that all those things add up to the exposure of the country and the culture, and so naturally cuisine is going to be part of that wave as well. So I you can literally see that now with Filipino food. There's P-pop, you've got girl bands like Beanie, and you've got SB19 who've gone like pretty mainstream now.
Manny
And then
Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao, of course, our hero, right? And then you've got like
Yokoi.
Jokoy, yeah. And then you've got like the Netflix. There's lots of Tagalog movies on Netflix, which is just
Right.
you know all these things are adding up to a huge exposure, and that's why it's such an exciting time to be part of the Filipino food movement.
Yeah, and you, I would say, because I'm glad I actually watched this. It's a series. I love the Chef's Table series, and then Jamie Oliver. There's a documentary on Netflix
Yeah.
with him and his story. It was really neat to see like how he started young, and then just kind of by chance so he like had a vision to change the cuisine in the UK, like just to get people to like food again. You know, Britons in general, like they're not known for their food. Like
it's true.
The British
it's
culture.
True. Yeah, everyone's like it's potatoes, it's fish and chips, and that's it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're also like pioneering the way. I know you're probably too humble to say that or admit it, but you're one of the few who are trying to get Filipino representation in Filipino cuisine and being featured on TV and everything. So it's really cool. What has your challenges been personally, like having to, you know, grow from a young age, grow a restaurant brand and surviving COVID, many things that have come up. Like how have you coped with your challenges along the way?
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about like just as a whole, my experience kind of to where I got to now, like I've made so many huge mistakes along the way. I've done a lot of made a lot of dumb decisions, and had a lot of big setbacks financially, trusting the wrong people, all of the things that, you know, any young business person or inexperienced business person could get into. And that's the point, right? Like the point of the journey is that like you almost have to go through these things to a certain level to get better. Like that's, you know, it's, I guess cliche, but it's failure is what makes you grow. Like that's what you learn from, is the failures. So I guess if anything, to be more specific, like when COVID hit, we had to stop doing street food. And I also was kind of came out of a bad, shall we say, just a bad business partnership prior. But you know, everything changed. COVID happened. We had to there was no jobs, there was no restaurants weren't open. So like we had to find ways to make money around it. So like I ended up setting up a little Facebook page to do like deliveries from home, and just like ask people like, oh, is there any kind of food, Asian style food, not just Filipino food, but any food that people are looking for that I could deliver for, and ended up doing a little side hustle just to, you know, keep us going as well. Little things like that to get us through. But more, shall we say, bigger challenges as when we were going for the restaurant. I had to learn how to fundraise. I had to learn how to find investors, and that was huge for me because I'm a chef by profession. So I'm not exactly a financial guy. I'm not a numbers guy. I don't know all of the business terminology and all this stuff. And I had to kind
Just
of
like
learn.
creatives.
Yeah,
creatives.
Yeah, it's exactly right. It's different types of thinking, but I had to learn some of the basics. Like I literally, like for example, just accounting, basic accounting. I had to literally stare at P&Ls and profit and loss sheets, just to like figure out what the hell does any of this even mean. But the thing is that was just kind of like a compulsory thing if I wanted to do the next thing, which was to try to get investment. And to do in any business or investors, you have to be able to talk at least the very basics in financial accounting and profit.
They want to hear the numbers.
Exactly, yeah, and that's just been like, that's definitely I would say been a huge challenge for me to get that right. But it's that business is numbers. So those are one of the challenges. And you know, but in the end, we managed to raise money to open our first restaurant, and that was only from last year. So basically, we were raising money from last year. February is when I started like putting together the pitch deck and business plans, and then fast forward, we basically had to close our investment early because we found a restaurant site and make an offer. So I ended up getting the investment from August and then opening the restaurant by November. So we opened Turo Turo in Tooting Broadway in Southwest London last year, November, and now we're 9 months in trading. And
Wow.
yeah, it's quick.
And how much did you have to raise initially? Like I'm sure it was.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can raise any amount you want, right? How much you want to spend. But I was originally trying to raise around 200,000 to get a first site. Yes, yeah. So in fact, I actually only raised half of that money at the time, without going into too much detail, because I had to place it. When I found an opportunity for the site that we're in now, it wasn't on the market, which means that we had early access. And once we did our research in the area, we kind of had to make a decision. Okay, if we really want this place at a good price and a good deal, you know, what are we going to do? And to do that, I had to basically close my round early to secure the funds that we had raised already, and then use that budget to open the site, which is quite risky. It's actually quite risky, because it's like, oh, you're going to open the restaurant with half the money. Like, so it's
entrepreneurial.
That was a bit ballsy.
Entrepreneurial.
Yeah. Stupid, I don't know, but but we're actually raising now. So we're now re-raising. So we're topping up the original investment to get to the next stage, to look at adding onto the business and adding street food back in, adding catering opportunities as well. So it's an exciting time, and it's been really amazing to be able to finally establish a base for my little baby, for Turo Turo. So
that's the best. Like, I mean, starting first lean, and just not overspending. That's where like a lot of restaurants, I think, hurt themselves, is overspending on a restaurant before they have actually established enough customers and that kind of thing. Do you have a link you can share, or is it on the website that we can find your fundraising link to make sure that we get it out to people?
Or that's a good one.
Or should people email, like, subscribe?
Definitely emails, because I can directly send any proposals if anyone's interested. So this is a great opportunity to plug that. But absolutely.
No, okay. And I know it's, can you believe it? Time flies. But before we wrap up, because I wanted to ask you a couple things too, in terms of, if you have a moment to talk about like the culture, growing up in the UK and then your parents moving there, that kind of thing. I had always grown up hearing like there's a ton of Filipinos in California, and then now learning more there's Canada, Australia, because of social media. It's really connecting all of us. And so but I know there's also quite a community over there in the UK.
So the community in the UK is it's obviously not as huge as the US, and doesn't go as far back as the US. So I'd say that the US as a whole is way more established in its history, but the community here in the UK is fast growing, and it's quite tight knit now. You've got things like Barrio Fiesta, which celebrates our culture and brings all of the communities together. So every year we see in different parts of the UK lots of Barrio Fiestas, and all of the Filipino communities going to that. And that's always an amazing time to just see Filipinos group up and stuff. I think growing up here, what I can say for myself, growing up here in the UK as a British born Filipino, it was actually quite difficult because I don't speak Tagalog. So I was never taught Tagalog as a child. So my excuse is naturally to blame my parents, but
same here.
Yeah, right. So
I used to be fluent, and then they're like, "Well, your teacher said not to speak to you in Tagalog anymore." I was like, "Okay, you can blame your teacher."
Exactly. So they never taught me, and so I also grew up around. I didn't grow up around many Filipinos either, so there weren't many Filipinos where I was living. There wasn't like a specific local community where I was living, and so I grew up as I guess, shall we say, a regular British kid who was Filipino ethnicity. And so in many ways, I felt alienated quite young.
Really?
Because,
was it pretty diverse there, or like still?
Yes. So it's generally diverse. But when I would meet Filipinos, or like I did have Filipino friends growing up, I did find it a bit difficult because I couldn't speak Tagalog, or I couldn't understand. So naturally, I was not able to connect with them as much as I'd like to. Obviously, they would speak English to me, but you know how it is. Filipinos want to speak in their native language, and they want to hang out together in their barkada, all of that stuff. So when I was quite young, it did feel alienating, and it was difficult for me to try to connect on that level. But I think that's a big reason why I think like it's part of why I do cooking and cuisine and Filipino cuisine now, is because it's like my only way that I really feel I can connect to the culture, and it allows me to express myself as a Filipino and as a chef. So I think that's
cool. No, I love that. Yeah. And then like with all of this and everything, like I would say success that you've accomplished, what do your parents think? Like, are they proud of you?
Yeah. My mom's always so like, my mom's always been really supportive of me. But the funny thing is, she always says it. She's like, I never thought you'd be a chef. But she's watched me grow from doing the small little pop-ups in cafes to street food to the restaurant, and she's been there every step of the way. She's the main cook in the house. So I learned a lot of, food and cooking from her, which is really nice.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, my dad is supportive too. I think the good thing with my parents is that I never had a predetermined like path for me. Like they weren't like, you got to be a
doctor.
Doctor, nurse, right? Yeah. So yeah, I kind of chose my own path and stuck to it ever since. And now it's starting to show some fruits. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's awesome. And you stand out in the market too, which is also key, and one of the earlier ones to do it. Looks like people are commenting and saying hello. Oh, thank you. Awesome. Thanks for watching, guys. And I want to make sure everybody follows you before, and then we'll close with you and your words of inspiration. So I want to make sure that they follow you on social, and that way we know. So it looks like you have the investment opportunity too up there. On
check us out.
Yeah,
at Turo Turo UK or www.turoturouk.co.uk. Yeah.
Awesome. So do you have, and it's funny because now I remember another question I wanted to follow up with.
Go on.
Maybe capture this in a minute.
Sure.
Because I'm glad you mentioned how it took a little bit to raise, and even then you still close the raise, because I have a friend who owns multiple restaurants, and even here in Florida, they had to open up one, they had to invest $300,000. So it sounds like your investment was pretty good, like a great deal for the UK. Is it expensive there to get a restaurant open?
Yeah, I mean it's obviously it's relevant to currency and all that stuff, but it's generally speaking, we're talking about London. It's expensive. It's not cheap to run and open a restaurant. I mean, let's be honest, restaurant industry is really hard to do. It requires a huge amount of sacrifice and dedication. But the reality is that the net profit margins in restaurants is small. And to really get somewhere, you have to kind of go big or go home. And which is why with Turo Turo, I believe the potential of scaling it as a brand. We want to grow it into something that you can recognize across the UK, and hopefully beyond. But so like raising like I said, we raised half of the money to open the restaurant. So we did it really lean, but I was trying to be really smart about the opportunity that I had. And the reality is that we had this opportunity to go into a restaurant without having to pay such a huge, what we call a premium. Usually you pay a premium to take over a site, to pay for all of the fixtures and fittings. But we had the opportunity to go in for much less, shall we say. And so, business, you can spend as much as you like, or you can spend as little as you like. So it's really about how creative you are with trying to find money or how to spend money. I had to, I started doing street food and pop-ups. So I had to learn to be frugal early, making small money, right? So that experience I've been able to transfer into the restaurant where there's even more expenses. And it's like, you have to be even more diligent and careful with how you spend the money. So it's a tough business. It's a tough business, but you can do it if you really want to, and you just got to put the work in and find the right teams as well to help you out along the way.
Yeah, and I think it's almost a blessing in disguise that you have to be smarter about your money, because even my friend's friend who had he had a finance background, wanted to invest in starting a restaurant in the middle of downtown San Francisco, and it cost him $700,000 plus to open a tiny little, San Francisco, California, like a tiny little spot, and he didn't, talk about big risk there, and didn't have a lot of restaurant experience. So I'm glad that you had that experience beforehand, with this pop-up shops, and then investing now in your first restaurant. And I hope people see this Instagram, to follow you, because the link is there, and for those who want to support him. And then I would love for you to conclude with any words of wisdom to any Filipino entrepreneurs out there.
Sure. I think if there's, any kind of advice and inspiration, is to just, if there's anyone aspiring to be an entrepreneur, like if you have an idea that you genuinely believe in, then, just give it a go. Just go for it. If it's like one of those things that's you're itching about for a long time, and you haven't taken any action, you have to just start. You really literally just have to start, because it's never going to be perfect in the beginning. So I think anything that's has value, you have to build it over time. It takes time to build anything of value, especially if we're talking about brands. If you want to build a brand that actually means something, you can't expect to just, even if you have lots of money, you can't just dump a load of money and think it's just going to be an overnight success. It doesn't work like that. You have to put in the effort. You have to be really thorough. But like I said, you can't be too intimidated by all of the noise and all of the challenges. You have to start. This is why you have to try and start small with what you think you can do, and then it will give you the confidence to go to the next step and the next step. So just get things going, get your idea going, see where it takes you, and then keep going even if you fail.
Absolutely, because that's so normal for a entrepreneurial journey to just start sooner. And it's really true. You have to fail forward. You have to know, you can't know these things about you until you actually get started. So thank you so much, Rex, for hopping on and talking about your story. And I love this. I wish you all the success with your fundraise, and we'll make sure we'll share that in our upcoming newsletter. For those of you who haven't yet, he has a newsletter, so subscribe on his website. Hang on for a second, Rex. I will pull us out and see you on the other side, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.